Welcome to Smart Cherry's Thoughts. This is Sai from India.
I'm good. I'm good. Friday. Uh, Trying to get the day finished.
So weekend.
Sure.
So firstly, thank you for coming to my show.
No worries. It's pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
So it's an honor. So I thought to tell about you and the work that you are doing to my audience.
Sure. I'm a co-founder of a DevOps consulting firm called Deop Incorporation. We do cloud trainings, help people to get a job in Canada. And I have another partnership, and also I'm the vice president of technology there, transatlantic business consultation. We do also, lots of cloud infrastructure software development projects, but at the same time, we help people to achieve some business goals. And one of the company is mostly focused on public sector, and the other one is private. We do government contracts with them, and the other one is doing subcontract with the big consulting firms in Canada and US. Thank you.
So you're from Canada.
Yes, I'm living in Canada. Yes.
So can you tell more about the you as co-founder?
Uh, yes. I co-founded my company, the DOP Incorporation, with my wife, which she is doing the same thing with me. After the pandemic, actually. Pandemic until pandemic started, I was working as a consultant in a application development firm. Then I see a big opportunity after the pandemic. There are a lot of needs coming for cloud and DevOps consultancy. I established my company with my wife, and we start to give services to US and Canadian enterprises.
So how old is this company?
This company is actually 3.5 years old. Yeah.
So what you did in this 3.5
Uh,
years?
yeah, we are giving enterprises, some companies needs to go to cloud, move their workloads from their data centers to cloud. We help them to achieve that goals. Sometimes we architecture their systems. Sometimes we train their people to use cloud more efficiently, or sometimes they need more people. As a company, we join their team and help them to, process that system faster than it should be. Yeah. And my company
So
is Microsoft and Amazon AWS partners, and we sometimes do consultation just specific to that areas.
so what's your background?
My background as a profession is also IT. I worked almost 22 years in IT and work in different fields like IT security, software development, sometimes as an IT director. And as an origin from a country, I'm originally from Turkey, but I immigrated to Canada 6.5 years ago. And before that, I have worked in Canada and Canadian firms from Turkey and Europe too. And even if it's cold, it's a nice place to live. Yeah.
So you're into IT from last 22 years.
Yes, 22 years, 99% I was in IT. I worked in a finance a bit, but that was also a related part of IT too. Yeah.
So I'm sure you have huge experience and you saw the evolution of the technology.
Yes, a lot. Especially when I came to Canada, Canada is a very good place to immigrate. There is a very fast process that you can come. But the biggest problem in that is finding a good, reasonable job that you were doing back home. The biggest problem if you become a software developer or security engineer, there are a lot of supply in the market and you will start to struggle to find the best job. But cloud and DevOps, and this is still accurate, there's a big gap. There's a big, demand for these roles. Then I decided to just pursue cloud and DevOps, even though I don't have so much experience before. I quickly wrap up. I use my previous skills and experience to, improve my skills in cloud and DevOps, and I quickly land a job in a couple of weeks. Then I, fast forward my life and become a founder in a consulting company that at least 12, 13 people working day by day. Yeah.
So I can see you have 40 plus certifications in cloud.
Yes, I have. That's my side job, especially after the pandemic. Since I'm not committing a lot, I get more certifications, and certification is a good verification of what you are doing. And in cloud, we have major three cloud providers and some small providers, and people wants to work with the experts. And you become a subject matter expert if you have certifications. And I work as a Microsoft certified trainer lead in Canada, and I encourage people to get certifications to show their capabilities and skills. That's the reason I like certifications. Yeah.
So what is the size of your company?
My size is we are 10 to 15 people, we can say. Yeah.
So different roles, architect,
Yeah.
DevOps,
Yeah.
engineers.
Yes, we have cloud engineers, DevOps engineers, solution architects. Even we do some cloud testing for infrastructure provisioning, different roles. And cloud and DevOps has got a broad of professions, site reliability engineers, Azure DevOps engineers, Google Cloud engineers, or cloud security engineer. Sometimes you have multiple roles and you can easily interchangeably use them. We have a lot of people, and now we also work as a training company. We have also cloud trainers that work under our company, and we have more than 50 people waiting for their next role. In a couple of months, we will be graduating around 50, 60 people, and then our company will grow exponentially.
So you give training and you hire them.
Yes, we hire them, or we help them to get hired by big enterprises, because I am getting personally a lot of requests from my employers do you have anyone that knows Azure well that we can work with? Because they understand, they become confident working with you, they are asking for your recommendation. And the biggest networking or job opportunity in Canada is word of mouth. A friend can recommend you, and that is bigger than resumes, bigger than CVs, or bigger than certifications. If I say that I work with this guy or I train this guy, he can do this. And if they earn the confidence on me, if they follow what we are expecting, it's easy to get the job. And this recommendation works really well. I do this as a mentor in some NGOs in Canada. I try to give a pathway for the people and try to refer them into some companies. Even there is also a bonus at the end. Sometimes some companies bring your friends. If they are working with us, we'll give you X $1,000 of amount as a bonus, because referral is important. Hiring someone without any knowledge, especially in the remote world, is hard for the companies. They try to build different mechanisms, but they're okay with someone you have worked before because you are going to work. I work as a hiring manager in a consulting firm. My manager, director, is always telling me, if you are willing to hire this guy, hire him, because you are going to work. I'm not responsible. That is the reason that I start training more people.
So you do they need to pay you in order to get trained?
Yeah, we have some fees for the trainings, but sometimes I find a talented guy. I just want to use his talents, and I see the light. Sometimes there is no, but we have a formal, a worldwide training company now that we train people from Europe, from I have lots of clients from also US too, or sometimes I do corporate trainings for specific companies that sometimes we need to upskill their engineers, because there's a big movement to cloud now, especially all infrastructure systems are moving to cloud. And I'm very much working with lots of Canadian and US institutions, government institutions. They already have really brilliant people, but they have never worked cloud. Then we program some trainings for them, and I travel to their city sometimes, their province. I have a training set up already for next week. I train them, and there is also an enterprise skill program for Microsoft. I also work as a trainer in that program.
So you hire, you give training to different countries, people, and you hire them and you let them work remotely.
Yes, yes, yes. Remote work is, cloud means everything is remote. Cloud, the basics and the fundamental is becoming a remote. I can take care of my servers from Portugal. I was there 3 weeks ago. While I was on the beach, I can check anything from my phone and fix the problems. Yesterday, I was talking to one of my clients. I was in a remote area taking, doing a shopping. I just point them, go and do this because I can escalate a permission to them. That's the reason remote work is it. If there is no restrictive regulation or legislation that prevents you to work from elsewhere, I'm okay, because if I'm not so young guy, but if I were young, I prefer to work remotely, travel the world, become a digital nomad, and you can work and you can feel the taste of the life very easy.
So tell me about the service that you provide.
The service is mostly, if a company wants to go cloud, they need some advices, some best practices. Mostly we are helping them to build that best practices documentation, then architecture. Then sometimes they need an engineer to execute this plan. And these plans are sometimes short-term, 3 months plan, sometimes 6 years plan. Or they have two engineers, never done a migration before, and I let my two engineers to work with them side by side, maybe 6 months, and they start to learn how to do the things. If they need more encouragement or training, we provide them. Or sometimes I join a team as an auditor. Maybe their guys start to learn cloud and they do a cloud migration. But if you're a junior in this project, you cannot make lots of architectural decisions. And senior people needs to come and check if they are done with the security principles, regulations, or sometimes there is a new tool. Because in the old days, we have servers, and servers has got CPUs and RAMs. Everything was based on that. Now, there are thousands of services in cloud. We need to get advices which one will be the best one. I have friends, subject matter expert. I have some topics that I'm expert on it. We give advices or implementation tactics or best practices and try to help every company to make this faster.
So your clients are from US and Canada mainly.
Yeah, US and Canada. We have one client in UK too. Yeah.
So what is the size of the company you work for?
Currently, I cannot disclose the name, but they have branches all across the world, and probably 100,000 people are working on it. And I have another client bigger than this. I am just helping them to architect something for a small period. They are probably, employing like 200,000 people. They are in the FMCG, the food market, we can say. I work with the biggest legal firms in the world. I sometimes work with, finance industry, but sometimes I work with the companies that has just one employee. It depends how they need the cloud or how they need that transformation, because the company size is not matters. I consult for a company that is just one single man show, but they were, he was reaching around $1 million every month revenue. But I work for some institutions. They are NGOs. They don't care about the money. They are providing services to citizens, but they have huge budget and they have lots of things to do.
So you are very diverse. You came from different country and you situated in Canada, and you got skilled. You upskilled yourself, and you got so many certifications, and you was into development, and you was into application development and all. Now you are into business side of the technology. How is this?
That's a progress. We are getting older. Maybe, becoming a technical person needs more effort. You should be sustainable about that. I try to do myself, but we have other things, kids growing, you need to take care of the family. I like it because my bachelor's is based on economics. I have a master's on information systems. Business kind of my side job always, and my father was doing business long years. that's good to have, but I still have, make my hands dirty and do lots of technical things. And I let my wife to run the business more often. I just make, she wants an advice from me, I let, but mostly she's running the business. I'm running the technical side. Same for the partnership that I've been carrying for. I prefer to do technical side because that's the thing that I love. And the age is transforming us into different jobs. If I think that like 23 years ago when I started my career, if someone told me that there is a cloud engineer, you will become one in 15 years, there's no cloud there. IT, information technologies, all the technology is evolving. Maybe 5 years later, we will be car mechanics for the EV cars. Maybe there needs to be a software skills that you need to update your cars. There should be update stations. There will be lots of things. Or there were no mobile phones, but I become a mobile application developer at the 7 to 8 years of my career, the first in Turkey. No one knows. You just deep dive and learn. And getting information now is totally changed. In the old days, we got degrees. We learned lots of things in the schools, but now there are shorter periods. We can access everything online. We can learn. Maybe we cannot become a medical doctor, but we can become a really good developer by becoming a self-learner.
So what you want to do next? You already reached 3 countries, and what kind of work that you want to do with the world?
Actually, this is maybe a 5 years plan, and I don't want to make a more than 5 years plan because as it's evolving, it's a moving target. But I want to grow our company, work with better team, bigger teams, and maybe bigger clients, and do really, giving something community back. Try to train people. For example, I have a project in my mind. I'm discussing with lots of officials in Canada. Try to train Ukrainian newcomers to Canada, teach them how they can, learn cloud, how they can survive their life. Because moving from one country to another without any skills, any language skills is tough. And we've been there. I've seen many people. I work as a community service, as a language translator from Turkish to English. I see the problems there. I would like to give back to the community and bring something better and maybe build a trust for them. Yeah.
So you also VP of technology.
Yes, VP of Technology of TB Consulting. That's a company that I partner with my friends. We are mostly focused on public institutions. We are giving Canadian and US government some help about, again, cloud infrastructure application development too.
So you are into cloud completely?
Yes, fully, that's my focus area. That's the way I like it. Everything is moving towards the cloud. We always do things on cloud. If we are looking for a security engineer, most of our security engineers are coming from a cloud security background. And that's the market goes. And I recommend everyone to get more things about cloud.
So all the services, how it works in cloud?
Yeah, mostly. We cannot say all the services because every day there is a new service coming, but I just try to catch up. I follow all the bulletins from big cloud providers, try to experiment as much as I can. I do trainings every training time. I check all the learning materials from Microsoft, AWS, Google Cloud. If there is something new that I can experiment in the class or afterwards, try to do my side projects to improve my skills because if you want things to work well, you need to, try them a lot, experience them a lot.
So it's not very easy for a person to, or for a technologist or a business owner to understand all the clouds and all the services. And I can see you are expert in this. So what is your driving and what is making you to be passionate about technology like this?
I like doing technological things. For example, if you tell me some people love doing gardening, some people doing, carpentry. I'm a guy that deals with the most of the cloud stuff or computer stuff. When I first started my career, maybe 90s, I tried to, take all my computer parts and change them and do the stuff. Now this becomes a cloud. There is a new service, let's test that. Or there is one new engineer coming, let's teach him something else that he can, accelerate his process. I like doing that. I put a lot of time reading on that or writing on that. I'm trying to publish a book about Terraform now. Probably next year it will be publishing. Try to people to reuse their efforts in the cloud very quickly. How they can provision governed and secure infrastructure. That's the reason I work on this. I have kids, I have time for that, but I try to wake up early, spend some time before work to improve myself, learn new things, or write a chapter from the book.
So is it possible for you to like manage everything? Because I can see you did so much.
Yeah. If you do a really good timing plan, it's perfect. I try to do a really good calendar and schedule. That's one of my strengths. I have everything scheduled. All my calendars are synced. I have multiple calendars. I have an assistant that helps me also set the stuff. And I use technological tools like Calendly to set all my meetings. If someone wants to meet, you can, these are the times, select one. Or I even encourage my personal trainer to use this. I can set the time, you can set the time. Try to use technology to, ease my life and be organized. Maybe I'm not a person that I just start working 9 and it's 5 p.m. Let's shut wind down. No, I work maybe 1 or 2 hours more. But for example, Sundays, I just check urgent emails. There is an importance setting in my email. I just check them. If a system goes down, I check my email from my phone. I never open my computer, for example. Sundays are my family day. I try to go out if the weather permits. And the weather is not permitting well in these days, maybe the following months, but I try to use that with the family. Just being organized, provides you at least a couple of hours every day.
So how is working with the different countries?
It's good, you need to adjust your time zones. There are some capabilities. For example, in the last project I was working in San Francisco, we have a team in India. You need to adjust your time. And I'm in the Eastern time zone, there in Pacific time zone. I need to be a bit flexible. I need to adjust my sleeping times because sometimes I'm not forced to, but I want to jump in a call to learn the team, what they need, how I can help with them, or try to do some personal times with them, coffee breaks, set some time, try to learn because it's remote. We need to put a bit more effort there. And the efficiency from remote work, the managers are responsible. Sometimes I coach people how they can improve their efficiency. That's the way. But it's nice. And I travel a lot of countries in my life in the last 6 years. I'm not traveling a lot, but before that I traveled a lot. And I know the cultures. I know it's good to have a chit chat. Sometimes I jump in a call with a couple of digital nomads engineers that I work with. I saw that they are next to my house, literally in Turkey. That happens. That's something fun. I like the cultures. I like traveling. And the pandemic is almost over. We can say we can start to travel. That's the reason it's good to have multiple countries.
So this thought you to become co-founder, this thought begin in the pandemic time.
Yes. I try to. That was something that I don't put so much effort, but the pandemic makes me to put full effort because I learned Canada well, that I can get more attention to my business, and I see there is a growing opportunity in the pandemic times. Pandemic maybe started as first as a Canada is layoffs, but in the IT industry, cloud consulting or the other consulting, they grow a lot. And I noticed that. And I just want to get the same opportunity or provide the same services to my clients because because moving to a remote work environment is starting from the cloud. If you don't have all the workloads in cloud, it's pain. It's a big pain. And I help them. Yeah.
So what challenges you like?
Challenges, especially in North America, it takes some time to build a practice or a name, a brand, and it takes some time to get confidence to your company. But I believe I passed that point, but it was hard, maybe you are decreasing your numbers to get rates, to get good projects. But if you get one, and if you that as a success story, if you can make that as a case story, you can get the other projects very quickly. Just you need to be patient about that. You need to build practice. You need to have good partners that carry on because in North America, technical people cannot do marketing, sales, business at the same time. we need to focus on technical things. We need to have powerful partners that carry on the business, marketing, sales. Maybe you go with a partnership that I'm doing. I have one institution, but I am also partner with the other one. We are becoming a very strong, powerful system. For example, we have now an office, like around 3,000 square feet office that we do trainings, and it becomes a very synergic area. We rent this place all together because we are all working from home. We have spaces, but coming to our office one single day increase your productivity very quickly. You learn from your friends or colleagues. Someone is falling into a trap, then you can easily. And as you know, I've been doing this for 23 years. I've been falling into traps many times. I can, stop my engineers to fall into the same trap. I can easily transfer my experience to them.
So your experience is helping you to do a great architecture for any IT infrastructure needs for any company.
Absolutely. I was in a project 3 years ago, and it was a big government institution in Canada. And one day, one of the project managers called me, from my phone. Can you jump into a call? It's like 6 p.m. in my time zone. I'm okay, it's something urgent. And my project is not a production project. Nothing urgent can be happening. They said, can you jump into a call? They sent me a link, and there's lots of security precautions. I entered the password, passcodes, and everything. I jumped into a call. In the call, there's 150 people. They're just asking me, there's a button. Can we click this or not? Because it's an old system, and they're asking me. And I used that many times. Said, feel free to, click that button, and it will handle everything. Yeah, they click and everything. Because, sometimes, and this is showing you are getting older. Sometimes your experience, help 1 second, but 150 people are looking into that. Or a new tool, I always ask all my engineers, from the junior one to senior one. Maybe I never seen that. Maybe they have seen. Maybe they saw. The knowledge is important to share because, if you share, maybe we get the grasp of that knowledge, but we cannot share everything. Sometimes I need to ask, verify. And some people saw me that I have over 40 certificates. They think that I know everything. No, I don't know. That's my hobby. Sometimes I need to verify things from the vendors or sometimes from even my junior engineers because we cannot cover everything. Or I work on something today. I'm an expert on it. But 6 months later, we are human. We might forget some part of it. We need to go check the document. Or cloud is a moving target. We can see that the documentation has changed. There is a new feature. Something is not going to work like that. Will work.
So being in technology, so how is this for a long time? And also talking with computer or talking with human beings, which one you like?
Technology for a long time. I love technology. That's the way it is. In Turkey, there is a university entrance exam, and there is a offer system that you might not get to the college you want or the profession you want. There's a random situation, and I was going to attend a economics college that I will hate. I know that I tried that. I hate it. That's not the way, but I like the computers. And when you compare with the computers and I'm a social person. I prefer to chat, talk about the things. But sometimes maybe you can be betrayed by a human, but computers are not like that. Very rational. You give an input and you take the outputs. They're very consistent. If you understand the low level of computing, they are reliable. I am happy to use them and work with them, but humans are almost, they don't have senses. And we are all human. We have senses. Sometimes we need to share. We need to cry. Computers will not understand that. That's a bit controversial, but I like both sides.
So what do you say? This is general. What do you say? You saw the evolution of the technology. Now data centers are under the water. Now also thinking about to put above the planet.
Yes, that's incredible. I have kids. Sometimes I tell them, in the TV, it was a black and white in the old days. There were no cell phones or that. They cannot understand. But we are in between. I saw the old school telephones that as just my grandma has. I need to go walk 5 kilometers to make a phone call, or I need to have tokens to have phone calls. I was studying in a boarding school. I need to get telephone cards. Now even 10-year-old kid has a phone in his or her pocket. This is very evolving, and I'm expecting a lot of changes too. And when we see, intelligent smart cars driving around, a couple of months ago, I was driving to another city from Toronto to Montreal. I see a Tesla car driving, and the driver is almost asleep. This is changing a lot, and I can see the technology inside of it, and I really, amazed about that. But when you tell this to a 70, 75-year-old people, they can be freaked about that. Why? We don't need to rely on computer, but I know how it calculates the possibility, how it checks all the cameras. We don't have eyes on our behind, but they have. That's really promising. I see more lazy people, but more smart and hardworking engines or computers coming.
So you listen to different requirements of different companies. So, and you are fulfilling their needs and reaching their expectations. So, what is your approach?
My approach is try to listen as much as we can, gather all the information they have, because sometimes a client tell you all the story on their end, but there may be another additional stories will affect, because dependency is the biggest computer problem in the world for me. It might be dependent. There should be a reason this was built like this. Get the reasons and try to provide the best solution you can, because there are best practices documents in every provider's or every language's website. But you cannot do that right away, because let's assume you have a software built in 1970s. No one will like it. It's an old school, but it was an amazing product in the old days. And you cannot tell the company, we need to throw this to garbage and you need to wait 2 years, stop operations, we will be developing something. There should be an exponential change. There should be gradual programs. It's hard to, I love technical program manager or product managers. There should be someone owning the product, owning the transformation, becoming a change agent, and carry on. That's important. As technical guys, we can provide the best solution for this time period. But tomorrow, maybe it will not be the best one. We should be ready. We should be making client ready. This is good for now, but let's have another 5 years plan, 3 years plan. Let's gradually change the things, make things newer. It's like you need to change some of the parts of your car or change the oil. Software is like that. It's not you get it, you use it forever. You need to adjust into people's needs and also the technology needs.
So, how you explored all these tools in the technology?
Try to read all the documentation as much as, I follow a couple of, web portals and some RSS feeds about technology, about the services. And I follow some cloud and DevOps podcasts that if I'm on commute or driving car, I try to listen them as much as and try to learn new products, because as you say, it's like mushrooms. Lots of products are popping up. You don't know what is for. You need to try to understand, I can use this for. And I try to match the products to my clients and create some proof of concepts with them as much as I can. Or sometimes I contact with the partnership managers. Can you do a demo for us, for my team, that we can understand what the product is? Or sometimes we go to a client for a discovery session. We see a product there. We say, oh, this product looks good. We learn more about that. That's an opportunity. We cannot cover everything, but we try to cover as much as we can. And sometimes I can make this comparison well when I first came to Canada, but there's a big difference about the product range in Canada, in US, and Europe. There are different tools, governing the market, providing services. There may be, interchangeable products, but some of them are powerful in some specific places. I try to address them and understand them.
So, you said your approach, and as a business owner, you are a good listener in order to understand uh, uh, their requirements and their infrastructure. And coming to internal part of your company, you are a trainer. You are also talking. There you are here listening, and here you are talking. So, uh, can you tell this both skills of
Sure,
yours?
that's a very important, topic. For example, if I attend the discovery sessions with my clients, I prefer to have at least video, audio recording, because I might slip something. Even though I take lots of notes, I still, I use pencil just in the discovery meetings. Regularly, I use maybe board marker, but we don't do lots of text records anymore. Everything is electronic. But I prefer to take the note as a paper, because paper gives me focus on the client. If I'm taking a note with the computer, sometimes I see a message. Because there are lots of dopamine effects and lots of interruption in the computer. I prefer to shut down my laptop and listen carefully, take the notes. Sometimes I took some notes about the audience, about the need, or some question that came to my mind that I can ask for an email, a follow-up email. But when I come to the company, I would like to also inform them what I have heard from the client, how we can provide the solution. And also I post them the audio records too. Maybe they can understand something that I skipped, because every sound, every statement can be a different thing. Sometimes, we are all human. Some of us, like me, we are not native English speakers. That's not my mother tongue. I understand something wrong. We try to address and look from different parts. Or sometimes we don't understand. We go and ask the questions, because listening and asking questions are really important. You get the correct need. Sometimes you can design something, and there are lots of YouTube videos about this. You describe something and they're bringing a product, it's not related. That's the reason we should have a definition period. Sometimes my clients they said, why you are doing 2 weeks discovery? Because it's not easy. You've been working in this company for 20 years. You know every aspect. You know all the backstory, but for a week we cannot get that story. We try to dig in as much as we can in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
So you worked for somebody's business before, and from last 3.5 years, you are working for your own business. So what do you say to two persons in you?
Working in a big institution, for example, I was working in a big one. Becoming that part of organization really helps you to get more projects, learn, explore lots of things. For example, there were some clients that my current company cannot get those scale of clients yet. It will take some time, but I understand the story of how they built that company. What are the good sides of the company that I can implement to my company? It's like my training about business management was mostly the institution that I work as a full-time employee or a manager or a director.
So eventually you give service for cloud people.
Yes.
So
Mostly
how?
cloud security people. It depends, sometimes, for example, sometimes we work with the old school IT people. They want to move something to cloud. We work with them. Sometimes we are working with CTOs, really top level managers that has a grasp of cloud knowledge as like a book from the books. They need to understand all the technicalities. Sometimes they don't need to, sometimes they need to. They need to understand our concerns, because moving to cloud has some security concerns too. We need to raise them. Sometimes they're asking me, you are moving everything to cloud and then raising concerns. Why? Because we should be aware and we should be taking some additional steps to prevent them. Try to over communicate all the information with them, with the cloud people, because they need to understand what they are signing for. It's not buying a laptop from X provider and then X vendor, then no, I don't want this, let's change it. Our projects are multi-million-dollar projects. It's a big effort, long years. You don't want to waste them. And sometimes I hear some of my clients came like that. We work with the X company or X people. We pay $1 million and nothing happened. It didn't do. And when I go look back, sometimes I see a mistake from the client side too. They didn't provide enough people or enough culture movement, because moving to cloud, moving to DevOps is a culture movement. You cannot just make a decision. Yes, we are moving to cloud. We have millions of dollars of budget. Let's move. It's not like that. You need to make really good management decisions, and you need to understand someone needs to inform you about that decisions. Maybe debates you need to have, long meetings. Sometimes I do, I over meet people about the processes at the beginning. They said, why, we made the decision. I sometimes want them to revisit the decisions because there may be something that they are not fully aware of. They need to understand.
Do all the people who wants to move their infrastructure to the cloud have technical knowledge?
Not all of them, they can hire some people that knows and get the training, but if they have that is really helpful, because, cost calculation is different. In the old days, you buy the computer, you have an internet connectivity, that's it. But now every service has a different cost algorithm. Maybe there is a new occupation or profession starting, FinOps professionals. They will help you to understand and reduce the cost of the cloud usage. There will be lots of different jobs are coming by this evolve, by this evolve. That's the reason I recommend everyone to have a certain level of cloud knowledge for developers, for QA engineers, security engineers, because everything is moving to cloud. If you stop yourself there in the old school way, you will not get the real benefit of being in the IT. Maybe all conventional technologies become non-IT in the near future because everything will be moving to the cloud.
So what is going to be the future technology?
Future technologies, I'm expecting some more powerful services and more reliable systems. And the data layer side, now every country has some data regulation. For example, you cannot move some certain Canadian data to elsewhere. It should be in Canadian data centers. And there are some cloud providers providing multiple data centers or regions in Canada. Some of them cannot. I'm expecting they will be popping up more regions, more availability, and more services, and more uptimes.
So what do you say to the people who are watching this, who are into the cloud, who are into technology, and who are doing technology business and who wants to do business?
Sure. My recommendation will be covered. Do lots of things. Learn more cloud as you go. Focus on serverless Kubernetes technologies. They will be, they're already boomed. It will grow, and adjust your applications to have more cloud native. The provider-driven databases, data systems that you can support a global infrastructure. Because according to my, research, if you are using an old school transactional database, you don't have the full global system, or you need to put more operational cost there. You need to be very careful. But cloud providers are providing really good document-driven databases now, data stores. Try to implement that and get some information from the data from your users and use cloud technologies to provide better services, better products. But first thing is everyone needs to learn more effort to learn new things. Yeah.
So as a co-founder, as a person who is into technology for 20 plus years, what is your observation about my work? Have you seen any videos of mine on
Yes,
YouTube?
I have seen. I was thrilled to see lots of different people from different backgrounds, different countries. I probably watched lots of them. Yeah, I probably watched lots of them. Yeah.
So how this experience talking?
It's a really good one, and actually, after watching your videos, I decided I should do something on this system too. That's amazing.
So I did masters in software engineering and also bachelor's in computer science and engineering. And right now I'm getting trained as DevOps engineer.
Nice.
Yeah. So how this experience talking with experts like you who are already in the industry for a long time to solve different problems, for handling different projects globally, what listening to you people, what I'm going to learn from it and how I'm going to use this knowledge if I work in a position in coming days.
I recommend, follow some endeavors in the market, like, lots of brilliant people that are posting lots of stuff in the social media, especially LinkedIn and Twitter. Follow them and try to learn more about that technologies. You shouldn't be expert about that, but just follow the trendy technologies, because every trend can easily become. For example, I have one short story about this. When I first came to Canada, I was working in a cloud company as a cloud engineer, I can say, lead engineer. And there was one specific technology I was discussing with the boss, the founder. There's a new technology, and that technology is Kubernetes. We should do something about this. We should do something about this. He said, no, this technology will going to die. Old school is the best way. And no, Kubernetes is, rapidly growing, still growing. And that company died because they didn't adopt Kubernetes. And as a new cloud engineer, I even noticed, that will be booming. You should just put some focus on the new trendy technologies. And there are lots of technology raters are published in Twitter. Follow them and try to learn and read more about them. Maybe you don't have a lab environment, you don't have an actual client to experiment that, but try to read and be aware of. And do not, if you are planning, you are a newbie in the cloud and DevOps field, do not be concerned about, I don't have so much hands-on skills. None of us had hands-on skills. You get your first job, you get your first client, then you have a lot of things to do. You can easily wrap up all the hands-on position. Just show your clients, show your employers that you are eager to learn. You are open. You are starving to learn new technologies. Maybe you are not fulfilling all the requirements in the job descriptions. Maybe they're over requested, credentials, but try to apply and show them that I'm ready to learn. If I see these lights, I hire the people and I see how they can easily go for. For example, I have one short anecdote for this. In my previous role, I'm giving people to assignment for jobs, and technical assignment. And I given the same assignment maybe 200 times. The first time I found one solution, that is aligning what my company does. Because this guy was a careful guy that knows that we are a Microsoft partner and solved the problem with a Microsoft solution. I invited him from a different province in personally. We sent a ticket, and this guy was like 2 years of development experience and just jump into a cloud DevOps career. And I asked him, how do you know this? Or are you working with Microsoft and that's the reason you said? No, he said that. I checked your website, your company profile, and I saw that you are a Microsoft partner. I want to do this. All the other people were solving, 199 people solved that in AWS. And I told my manager, I'm going to hire this. It was for a senior position, but this guy is a very junior. And in a year, that guy becomes a senior because he was detail-oriented. He knows how to learn. Now he's a manager in a big firm. And this happened 3.5 years ago, just before I left the company. You can easily grow. There is a big opportunity, big space in the cloud and DevOps field. Just be detail-oriented, learn. You can easily grow.
I'll put your web links in the description of this video on YouTube. People who finds our video on YouTube can see the work that you're doing and the service that you're providing and what you're doing. They can know it. And also I'll put on the screen as well. They can see the entire video. Can you spell your presence to my podcast listeners?
Sure. Our consulting company called is Deop, Deop.ca. And our training company called is cloudcamp.ca, cloudcamp.ca. That's it. Thank you very much.
So can I put this video on my YouTube channel with your permission?
Sure. I consent. No worries. It's good to be part of your videos. Yeah.
Can I also put this audio and video clip on my podcast, website, internet, social media, everywhere with your permission?
Sure. Absolutely.
Thanks, Erol, for giving me your valuable time and giving answers to some of my questions and telling about your service.
I appreciate Sai, and whenever you need help, we can catch up. You have my Skype and the other contact details.
Yeah, sure. Thank you again.
Have a good day. Have a good weekend. See you.
Thanks, sir. Bye.